Well, Tanner just said it when he clicked that clicker in front of my face. Episode 7, Bible in a Year. If you thought the dysfunction of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar was bad, you ain't seen nothing yet, man. Wait till you get to Isaac's house. It is a complete and total disaster. Thanks for joining us today. Here we go. All right, guys, here we go. Abraham. Episode 7. We are on Genesis 24 and 25. Look at your chapter headings. You're going to see Isaac and Rebekah on your chapter heading.
It's like the best love story in the Bible, isn't it?
Hey, hello. I love the love story of Isaac and Rebekah. Then you got 3 primary topics in Genesis 25. The death of Abraham, which some would say, why is that significant? It is huge. Then you're going to get over to God's blessing of Israel, okay? Because Isaac remains the son of promise. That's completely tied to the burial of Abraham, okay? It's what naturally flows from it,
Yeah.
okay? And then the third thing is that wacky Jacob and Esau, okay? So let's get into this here. Do me a favor. Meet me over in Genesis 24, okay? I'm just going to start reading here out of the chute, okay? All right? Genesis 24, starting with verse 1. Abraham was now very old, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. He said to his senior servant in his household, the one in charge of all that he had, put your hand under my thigh. You can do a deep dive on that one if you want. I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and of the God of earth. Watch this. Here we go. That you will not get a wife for my son from the daughter of the Canaanites.
Wonder where they came from.
That's huge. Okay? Now, guys, that is huge because you're going to say, why is that such a big deal? It's a huge deal. Because you're going to see this over and over and over and over again throughout the Scripture. And it's what we're talking about when we're talking about Babylon, okay? The way that Abraham was living was a life of faith in the one true God.
Yeah.
And think back to our gosh, we got to do something with these mics, Tanner. Golly, Neds, hit myself in the face. You can edit that out if you want, or you can leave it in for a good laugh for people. You think back to our discussion on the Table of Nations. And what we talked about that day was Tower of Babel, Table of Nations.
Yeah.
All the nations around Abraham's family were all pagan.
Right.
They were all contrary to the one true and living God.
Mm-hmm.
And there it is again. This is Abraham saying, do not get a wife for my son from the daughter of the Canaanites.
That's right.
So this is a way jump ahead. Like this is probably a summer jump ahead, looking at the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
When the Israelites come back from the exile and they're back in Jerusalem, one of the things that absolutely drives Ezra and Nehemiah crazy is that they started marrying again among the people on the outside of Jerusalem. What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And it's not so much that they married somebody outside, because let's be honest. Hagar is in Jesus' family line. She's from Jericho, okay? Ruth is from Jesus' family line, and she's a Moabite that we talked about when we were talking about Lot. So it's not so much where the person is born. It's the faith that they keep.
Yeah.
And whether when they come into contact with the one true and living God, whether they keep the old faith.
Yeah.
That's what it's really about. So Abraham says, I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I am living. But you go to my country and my own relatives, not that was much better, okay, and get a wife for my son
covenant.
Isaac.
He's talking covenant.
That
you know
is
what I mean?
what it is.
Covenant for covenant to be carried out.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's still I not to backtrack where we were yesterday, but you see the lesson learned. You were just talking it off air. We were talking about the test. It's never take a test twice that you've passed, right? You see Abraham, like, he gets it. He gets it as he's about to offer his son, and there's the ram. He gets it, and it's like, all right, this is something that you're not playing around with about it, God. This is something you're establishing forever. And I think we see in this moment Abraham saying, "Listen, you can't stay in this covenant. Yes, or we got to stay in God's covenant. Yes, we live in this land, but we're not like these people, And so he's asking him to go and honor the covenant of God still. So I love the faithfulness that's displayed through Abraham.
Well, and I think your point is well made. Sometimes sometimes it's the devil that you do know than the devil that you don't.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that's what Abraham is doing here. Look, if I go back to my family and I marry within my original family clan, the evil around me is so bad.
Right.
At least I know the family that it's coming from.
Yeah.
It's not like he's saying they're good and these people are bad. It's just I think I've got a better shot with my son and marrying within my own family line than I do, and some people would say, what the heck? It's they're far enough down the line generationally, that it would have been okay. So Abraham sends his servant back to the land that he came from. And it's interesting. This is the first appearance of old Laban. What a knucklehead he is, okay? So the servant gets there, finds, and you'll read this. I'm not going to go through all this. But the prayer that the servant prays, when we talk about prophecy, the prayer that the servant prays is exactly how the action plays out. And so he knows that Rebekah is the one. She's the one, okay? So Rebekah goes back to Abraham's relative's house, Bethuel. Bethuel has these kids, one of which is Rebekah. The other one is Laban. And we see just how greedy Laban is. And guys, I think this is important for you to see because when Jacob ends back at Laban's house, and there will be a return of Jacob here in a couple of chapters over, when Jacob ends up at Laban's house, I mean, you want to talk about a snake in the grass. Laban is a snake in the grass. I want to draw your attention to chapter 24. Start with verse 28. The young woman, okay, this is Rebekah. This is who will end up marrying Isaac. Rebekah ran and told her mother's household about these things, that Abraham's servant had showed up and had put a ring in her nose and so on and so forth, and here we're going to get married and all of this stuff, okay? Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and Laban hurried out to the man at the spring. What do you see the cause effect here? Here's the cause. As soon as he had seen the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's arms and had heard Rebekah tell what the man had said to her, he went out to the man and found him standing by the camels near the spring. Come, you are blessed of the Lord. Why are you standing out here? I've prepared the house and a place for the camels. Laban says, ooh, this is my meal ticket.
Yeah.
I'm going to get some cash out of this deal. That's exactly what's happening here. And you see that thing play out. The servant tells the story completely over again, okay? And then, the guy says, look, you can't detain me. If she's coming with me, she's coming with me, all right? And they said, oh, no, come on now. Let her stay one more day. And the guy said, listen, I'm leaving. She's either coming or not.
Right.
They have a conversation. Rebekah says, yeah, that's fine. I'll go with him. I'll go back to where Abraham is now, Canaan land, so to speak, what would end up being the promised land under Moses, and the land they're fighting over today on that side of the world, the West Bank, and so on and so forth. Okay? She agrees to go back with the servant, and this is what you were talking about, okay? Sarah's dead. She's buried in the cave of Ephron the Hittite in the field of Machpelah, all right, in the land of Mamre, all right. Verse 62 of 24. Now Isaac had come from Beer Lahai Roi, for he was living in the Negev.
Mm-hmm.
He went out to the field one evening to meditate. Okay, so he's out there praying. He's grieving his mother's loss. He's super sad about that whole thing. And as he looked up, he saw camels approaching. Rebekah also looked up and saw Isaac. They both look up, and their eyes meet across the field. I mean, this is like a Hollywood script.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like there's wheat fields, and there's sun coming down, and the wind's blowing, and there's lavender smell in the air, and, you know, there's somebody playing a harp, and there's a unicorn, and, you know, and they're running across to one another, okay? Her white gown is blowing in the breeze, and, you know, all this stuff. All right, she got down from her camel and asked the servant, "Who is that man in the field coming to meet us?"
Yep.
"Oh, that's my master," the servant answered. So she takes a veil and she covers herself. And then the servant told Isaac all he had done. Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he married Rebekah. So she became his, that's a euphemism. Look up euphemism if you don't know what that means. And he married Rebekah. So she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So that's the love story between Isaac and Rebekah. That's how they got married, okay? Now, I want you to take a look at this, okay? This is the death of Abraham, and this is just super, super, super important, okay? When Abraham dies, you have to look at verses 7 through 11. Abraham lived 175 years. And then Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years, and he was gathered to his people. Now watch this. I mean, like, this is so huge. Hagar is not buried in that cave.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah is buried in that cave. Sarah is the one that sent Ishmael away to die
Right.
at 17 years old. Sent him away to die. All right? Abraham dies. Isaac sends word to Ishmael. Ishmael, Dad's dead. I was wondering if you would come and be part of the burial. Now you think about that.
Mm-hmm.
If Sarah was the culprit, it wasn't like Ishmael was a little kid. If Sarah was the culprit, if she was the catalyst behind the expulsion of Hagar and Ishmael from the family, might have Ishmael held a grudge over that? Might have Hagar held a grudge? When Isaac gets word to Ishmael, maybe Ishmael says, "Where are you burying Dad?" "Well, I'm burying him in the cave that he bought from Ephron the Hittite." "Is your mother buried there?" "Yeah." If you think I'm going to bury Dad next to that witch of a woman that sent me and Mom away to die, you got another thing coming, buddy.
Yep.
So that is a probability.
Yeah.
But it's not what happened.
Well, like, you know, and even in that, so this is one of the points that I have for this section is to say this. Consequences are important to consider. They just are. I know that's a simple statement, but they're important to consider because it has a ripple effect for a lifetime and for generations. And so it's really important to consider that this decision doesn't only impact me, but it's going to impact generations to come. So
Isaac, the Jews, Ishmael, the Muslims.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
If Isaac and Ishmael can get along
Right.
over the place of Abraham's burial, what in the world is happening today? And that is why Genesis 27, 7 through 11 is so significant. Abraham lived 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, and an old man and full of years. And he was gathered to his people. His sons, plural, Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite. The field Abraham had bought from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who then lived near Beer Lahai Roi. Ishmael's on board with everything.
Yeah.
He doesn't fight. He doesn't grumble. He doesn't not show up. He is there.
Right.
And he does the right thing. And Isaac is named as the son of promise. I'll take care of Ishmael.
That's right.
But the Messiah is going to flow from Isaac.
Yep.
And that is significant. Then we take a quick jump now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like almost immediately over to Jacob and Esau. Okay? So understand this. All right? Abraham dies at 75. Or 175.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He's 175.
Yeah.
Isaac was born when he was 100.
Yes.
So his death happens 15 years after what we're reading in Genesis 25, 19 and following.
Yep.
Okay? So watch this. Jacob and Esau are 15 years old when Grandpa dies.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because when you look at verse 26, Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to Jacob and Esau. Just a little timetable thing here that we're laying out again. It's important as you're reading Scripture to see the timetable that plays out.
It's good. That's really
so
good.
you can see that. All right. So, but anyways, Isaac gets Rebekah pregnant, and she's pregnant with twins, and they're already fighting in her womb.
Yep.
The two boys are fighting in the womb, and there's a prophecy that comes out. And Rebekah goes, what in the world is happening to me?
Yeah.
And God answers, 2 nations are in your womb, Israel and Edom.
Yep.
2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. So Esau is born first. Mm-hmm. Jacob is born second. Mm-hmm. They're twins, okay? But Jacob is going to rule over Esau.
He's what in tracking in some of the language that we've used, he's third in God's plan in the Abrahamic line.
Abraham, Isaac,
Now we have Jacob.
Jacob. Mm-hmm. Now, culture says older son is the son of, even if they're twins. Whoever is born first, that's the one in line.
Yeah.
But that's not what happens here.
Right.
And so when you get to the tail end of 25, you've got this hunter, Esau, and this guy that likes HGTV, Jacob.
Yeah.
One's the big burly man, and one guy, can decorate your living room.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just different strokes for different folks.
That's all.
And these 2 guys, mom likes Jacob, dad likes Esau. We have fracture in the family.
Yeah.
And Jacob, he's a little sneaky. You know what I mean? Just like Uncle Laban.
Right.
Which circumstances matter.
They do.
You got to think about these things.
It'll come around.
Esau's hungry. Jacob's making a bowl of lentil stew or something. And Esau says, I need some of that stew. And Jacob says, well, that's fine, but you're going to sell me the birthright. And Esau lived by his belly so much.
Yep.
He basically gives up the double portion as the oldest son.
Oh, yeah.
And later the blessing will come, okay? And that's just basically the conferring of the birthright.
Right.
Okay? Birthright is the rightful place of the double portion of the family estate. And the blessing is just kind of the conferring of that.
Yeah.
That will come here tomorrow when we talk about it. But for now, what happens is Esau sells his right as the oldest son,
Yeah.
and that's how this ends. And
it's to be continued. Yeah, but
it really is. It's to be continued. Just give us one more thought, and then we'll finish this up.
I mean, when you I think it gets really screwed up really quick here.
Honestly,
right.
That's like a perfect way to end
you know what I mean? I think there's a beautiful love story, but it gets screwed up really quick, and things start to go a lot of different ways. And God does a lot of amazing things through Jacob, but Jacob was deceiver.
Oh,
man.
It does not start well.
Deceptive and lying, but God used him, and he comes around. But it's a part of it's a part of our history. It's a part of our our story. And you look at that and you think, man, like God used these people and God blessed these people. And
Well, it's what you said yesterday at first service, in the prayer
yeah,
over me. And it's something that I think we've all heard. God does not call the equipped.
yeah,
He equips the called.
yeah.
And that's what you see here with these two. And I hope everybody sees
Yeah.
this does not start well, but boy does it.
Yeah,
ever
and it's
finish
and it's
well.
and it's not like God is saying, "Well, I can't use him."
No.
you know what I mean. It's
Use
like,
anybody.
oh wow, like here's something to work with. You know what I mean? And it's not like, oh wow, here's something to work with. It's literally looking at these people that He's called and He's chosen to say, oh, I can work with that. I can. My plan can be fulfilled through these people, and I can be evident in all people. So, yes, it's a beautiful mess. It's a beautiful mess, is what
It's a
it
great
is.
way
So,
of bringing
yeah.
it to a close.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching episode 7. We'll see you tomorrow, episode 8. God bless.